Hey there, it's CaraNightly, and tonight I have with me the new Commander deck from the Aetherdrift release. And this particular deck is Living Energy. I already forget the name. I came prepared, but I think it's Temur maybe? T-E or T-M-U-R. Temur. But it is green, blue, red. Green, blue, red. Green, blue, red. So, tonight I'm going to be sleeving these cards in my Dragon Shield sleeves. And the ones we have tonight are Emerald, and it's the matte screen sleeve. I think the green will go nicely. Nice green color. So, let's get these out of the box. Just like so. There we go. And I always like to make sure I set them the open side up. Alright, so this is again Living Energy, Stockpile Energy, and Charge Up Artifact Creatures. This is probably my favorite part of the design, the race strip. Let's briefly read what is on the back here. Battle your friends with powerful creatures and spectacular spells in Commander Magic's most popular multiplayer format. Power up with Sahili to stockpile artifacts and energy counters that fuel your big moves. Generate copies of your cards at formidable artifact creatures, then watch your foes short circuit. Sahili Radiant Creator. Oh my gosh, okay. Include a collector booster sample pack and 100 new deck cards with a deck box. So let's go ahead and open it up. De-sparked but re-energized. Oh, this is really cool. I've never seen this before, not at least in a commander deck that I've opened. Protection Order, Deceit Intellect, Death Decay, Fury Chaos, Life Nature. That's really cool. So, I'll do that in just a minute. Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts about opening Commander decks. Just fold this over and again to make a nice box. Alright, let's see what card is in our collector booster. Thopter Fabricator. It costs 2 generic and an island. It's an artifact vehicle. It has flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And it has crew 2, and it's a 4/4. Honestly, probably a pretty good card, considering. Ooh, we got a Dune Drifter. Don't think that was anything spectacular, so that's slightly disappointing. Let's see, Dune Drifter though is a colorless X, plains in a swamp. Artifact vehicle. When this vehicle enters, return target artifact or creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it has crew 2, and it's a 3/3. Okay. Let's get back to the pack here. I'm going to take out the tokens here. So every commander deck will typically have tokens, and so these are all of the tokens that go along with this particular deck. So we have some beast tokens, treasure, golem, energy, because that's a pretty big part of this. Thopters. I don't know what this one is, but that's cool. Servo. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with the commander. We have Saheeli, Radiant Creator. It costs a generic and a forest, an island, and a mountain. It's a legendary creature, human artificer. Whenever you cast an artificer or artifact spell, you get an energy. It's an energy counter. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types, and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and it's a 4/4. That's really, really good. That's really good. So that's a fun card. artifacts and energy. Yeah, those will look nice. Next we have Pia Nalar, Chief Mechanic. It costs a forest, an island, and a mountain. It's a legendary creature, human artificer. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar Aetherdrift. Well, there you go. With flying and crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way. And it's a 2/4. So that's where those tokens come in that I was commenting on. Next we have Territorial Aether Kite. Costs 4 generic and 2 mountain. It's a creature cat dragon. That's pretty cool. It has flying, haste. When this creature enters, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. When you do, this creature deals that much damage to each other creature. And it's a 6/5. I must admit, I think this deck is more meant for my husband. I don't know if I'm super into the energy counters, but we'll see. It's not quite grasping my attention. I'm reading through the cards so far, but let me know what your thoughts are. I'm curious if this is one of those kinds of decks where it's like you really like it or you really don't. I don't know. Anyways, this is Nisa, World Soul Speaker. It costs 3 generic and a forest. It's a legendary creature, elf druid. Whenever a land you control enters, you get 2 energy. You may pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost for permanent spells that you cast. And it's a 3/3. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Almost like a mana dork, but for energy in a way. That's cool. Okay. Pima Trailblazer. It costs 2 generic and a forest. It's a creature, elephant warrior. It has trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. Exhaust. Pay 6 energy. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. Then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. And it's a 3/3. Okay. I'm starting to see what's going on. Seems like there's a lot going on though, especially in this card. Rampaging Aetherhood, 4 generic and a forest, sorry. And this is a creature hydra, a snake hydra. It has trample and ward 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get an amount of energy equal to this creature's power. And then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. Okay. Okay. That's an interesting way to use hydras. I usually really love hydra cards. And this one there's a lot going on there. We have Adaptive Omni Tool. Costs 2 generic. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Holy moly, okay. Whenever equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it's equip 3. Okay, that's not so bad. Aether Flux Conduit. Cost 6 generic. It's an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, you get an amount of energy equal to the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. Okay. You can tap and pay 50. What? Draw 50, so pay 50 energy. Draw 7 cards. You may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. Draw 7 cards. You may cast any number of spells. What? Any number of spells. What? I mean, that could just do anything. What in the world is this card? Okay. I think it's gonna be interesting. I haven't played Magic. I've played it like once with energy. So I haven't had enough experience with it. But it seems like a lot, but it also seems interesting. Yeah, let's keep going. Etheric Amplifier, it costs 3 generic and it's an artifact. You can tap and add 1 mana of any color. You can pay 4 generic and tap and choose 1. You can activate only as a sorcery. And you can double the number of each kind of counter on target permanent, or double the number of each kind of counter you have. Okay, interesting. Stride Hanger Automaton costs 3 generic. It's an artifact creature construct. Thopters you control get +1/+1. Okay. If one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. And it's a 1/4. Okay. That's cool. So we're just gonna have a bunch of Thopters flying around. Sorry, sometimes I just have this natural habit of putting it right inside, but I like to try to keep it out because it gets a little glare reflection from the light. Anyways, Chain Reaction. This is a classic staple. I think. Yes. It is 2 generic and 2 mountain. Chain Reaction deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. Yes, I do believe this is a staple. Next we have Chaos Warp. It costs 2 generic and a mountain. It's an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it onto the battlefield. Interesting card. Definitely some chaos causer there. Okay. Druid of Purification. It costs 3 generic and a forest. It's a creature, human druid. When this creature enters, starting with you, each player may choose an artifact or enchantment you don't control. Destroy each permanent chosen this way. I hate and love those cards. Oh, and it's a 2/3. Chromatic Lantern. Costs 3 generic. Lands you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color, and you can tap to add 1 mana of any color. Duplicant. It costs 6 generic. It's an artifact creature shapeshifter. It has imprint. When this creature enters, you may exile target non-token creature. As long as a card exiled with this creature is a creature card, this creature has power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature exiled with it. It's still a shapeshifter. And it's a 2/4. Sometimes these cards are confusing because there's a lot going on with that too. We have Academy Ruins. It's a legendary land. You can tap to add a colorless, or you can pay 1 generic and an island. Tap and put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. That's pretty good, actually. I like that. Target artifact card. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, Aether Squall Ancient. Costs 5 generic and 2 island. It's a creature, Leviathan. Flying at the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy. Pay 8 energy. Return all other creatures to their owner's hands. Activate only as a sorcery, and it's a 6/6. It's an interesting card. Aethertide Whale. It costs 4 generic and 2 islands. It's a creature whale. It has flying. When this creature enters, you get 6 energy counters. You can pay 4 energy and return this creature to its owner's hand. And it's a 6/4. Okay. It's pretty good. Confiscation Coup. It costs 3 generic and 2 island. It's a sorcery. Choose target artifact or creature. You get 4 energy counters. Then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that permanent's mana value. If you do, gain control of it. Okay, I'm here for that card. Disallow. Costs 1 generic and 2 island. It's an instant. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Okay. I like that. Midnight Clock. I love this card. I have this in one of my other decks. It is costs 2 generic and an island. It's an artifact. You can tap to add an island, or you can pay 2 and an island and put an hour counter on this artifact. At the beginning of each upkeep, put an hour counter on this artifact. When the 12th hour counter is put on this artifact, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. Exile this artifact. And that other card that could double counters or double each counter, this is something where you could double those types of counters. So that'd be cool. This is fun to have. Honestly, early on, but also like a late game could be a good game changer. Just depends, but I've played with that card a couple times. It's a good one. One with a Machine. It costs 3 generic and an island. It's a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the highest mana value among artifacts you control. Oh, okay. We have Psy Master Thopterist. It costs 2 generic and an island. It's a legendary creature, human artificer. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. It costs 1 generic and an island. If you want to pay that, I should say. And you can sacrifice 2 artifacts and draw a card. And he's a 1/4. I think he's in my... Was he in my vehicle deck? Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't. I can't remember. Thopter Spy Network. It costs 2 generic and 2 island. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Blasphemous Act, of course. It costs 8 generic and a mountain. Sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. Combustible Gear Hulk costs 4 generic and 2 mountain. It's an artifact creature construct. It's got a first strike. When this creature enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, you may mill 3 cards. Then this creature deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those cards. And it's a 6/6. Ouch. We have Lightning Runner. It costs 3 generic and 2 mountain. It's a creature human warrior. It has double strike haste. Whenever this creature attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 8 energy. If you pay, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Alright, and it's a 2/2. That's a good card. There's a really good balance of interactions with the energy in this deck. I mean, obviously, because it's built around that, but it's really cool. I'm enjoying it. Pia in Kiran Nalar costs 2 generic and 2 mountain. Legendary creature, human artificer. When Pia in Kiran Nalar enters, create 2 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. You can pay 2 and a mountain to sacrifice an artifact. Pia in Kiran Nalar deal 2 damage to any target. And it's a 2/2. We have Aetherwind Basker. It costs 4 generic and 3 forest. Creature lizard. It has trample. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you get an energy counter for each creature you control. You pay energy. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Simple and straightforward. Okay, and it's a 7/7, so very expensive to cast, but you also get a lot of energy counters, and then you only have to pay 1 energy to get +1. Oh, but it's only until end of turn, so I guess that's not that amazing, but still, if you need to make it a little bit bigger, you could do that. Blizzard cards are cool. Architect of the Untamed. It costs 2 generic and a forest. It's a creature, elf, artificer, druid. It has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get an energy counter. You can pay 8 energy. Create a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token. And this is a 2/3. Interesting. Bootlegger's Stash costs 5 generic and a forest. It's an artifact. Lands you control have tap to create a treasure token. Don't mind if I do. Elder Gargaroth. It costs 3 generic and 2 forest. It's a creature beast. It has vigilance, reach, and trample. Whenever this creature attacks or blocks, choose 1. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token. You gain 3 life or draw a card. And it's a 6/6. Aetherworks Marvel costs 4 generic. It's a legendary artifact. Whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get an energy counter. You can tap and pay 6 energy. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That could be a really good card, depending on what you pull from the top of your library. Next we have Conjurer's Closet. Costs 5 generic. It's an artifact. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. And I really like that because that's a flicker card, so that can be really helpful when you have an enters the battlefield trigger. Sorry if you hear sounds in the background again, as always, that is my dog. We have a Cultivator's Caravan. Costs 3 generic. It's an artifact vehicle. You can tap to add 1 mana of any color, and it's crew 3, and it's a 5/5. I like that card because you can use it to attack or you can use it for mana. Whatever is most convenient. Next we have the Panharmonicon. Ooh, it's cost 4 generic. It's an artifact. If an artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. There's a lot to keep track of there, but that's a very good card. I think a valuable card as well in terms of that. Retrofitter Foundry. I like saying that. Retrofitter Foundry. It costs 1 generic. It's an artifact. You can pay 3 to untap this artifact. You can pay 2 to tap and create a colorless servo artifact creature token. You can pay 1 and tap to sacrifice a servo. Create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Or you can tap to sacrifice a Thopter and create a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. What in the world? Okay, I kind of like that. And you can pay 3 to untap, so if you somehow come across a lot of mana, you could just sit here doing this a bunch of times on your turn. If you, again, somehow can get like endless mana. Next we have a Solemn Simulacrum. It costs 4 generic. It's an artifact creature golem. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When this creature dies, you may sacrifice a card, and it's a 2/2. We have a Triplicate Titan. It costs 9 generic. It's an artifact creature golem. It has flying, vigilance, and trample. When this creature dies, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with flying, a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with vigilance, and a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with trample. And it's a 9/9. Okay, that's a sweet card. That's so cool. It's just like in my Merfolk, or my, sorry, it's not Merfolk, token duplicating deck, Aetherdrift and Niv. There is a fish card. I don't think it's a fish, but it turns into a lot of different things. But it does the exact same thing where it just breaks down. I really like that. Okay, friends, I think we're making it into the land. We might still have some more artifact cards and things to go through, though. We have an Exotic Orchard. It's a land. Add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. It's one of my least favorite lands, but hey, it's there. Frost Boil Snarl. As this land enters, you may reveal an island or mountain card from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. You can tap it for an island or a mountain. Hinterland Harbor. This land enters tapped unless you control a forest or an island. You can tap it for a forest or an island. Carplusian Forest. You can tap to add a colorless or tap to add a mountain or a forest, and it deals 1 damage to you. We have an overflowing basin. You can pay 1 to tap and add a forest and an island. Root-bound crag. Land. This land enters tapped unless you control a mountain or a forest. You can tap to add a mountain or a forest. We have Sheltered Thicket. It's a land, a mountain forest. This land enters tapped. It has cycling 2. It means you can discard this card if you pay 2 and then draw a card. The Chivon Reef. You can tap to add a colorless or tap to add an island or a mountain, but it deals 1 damage to you. Sorry, that one was a little aggressive. We have a Spire of Industry. You can tap to add a colorless, or you can tap to pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control an artifact. You can tap to pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control an artifact. Okay. Next we have the Sulphur Falls. This land enters tapped unless you control an island or a mountain, and then you can tap to add an island or a mountain. And then we have Temple of Epiphany. This land enters tapped. When this land enters, scry 1. You can tap to add an island or a mountain. We have a Treasure Vault. You can tap to add a colorless, or you can pay XX, sacrifice this land, create X treasure tokens. Ooh, that sounds like fun. So if I have a bunch of mana and don't know what to do with it, we could create more mana. Vine Glimmer Snarl. As this land enters, you may reveal a forest or island card from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. You can add a forest or an island. Yavimaya Coast. You can tap to add a colorless or tap to add a forest or an island, but the land will deal 1 damage to you. Okay, so here we go back to some other cards. We have an instant. This is Reality Shift. Really love the art. It costs a generic and an island. Exile targeted creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library. Ooh, that's a really cool arcane signet. Love, love, love. 2 generic. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity when you tap. For real though, I love that. Looks so realistic. I like it. Oh my gosh, look at these lightning greaves. Yes, this is sweet. I'm so glad there's a lightning greaves in this commander set. It costs 2 generic. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud, and it's equip 0. I love that lightning greaves. so much. Usually they're just sort of like a traditional art that is on the majority of the Lightning Greaves cards. I like that one a lot. Ooh, the Soul Ring. Also amazing. It costs 1 generic, and you can tap to add 2 colorless mana. What? That's a cool looking command tower. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. I'm really here for the art. That's really why I'm here. Arcane Denial. It costs 1 generic and an island. It's an instant. Counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of their next upkeep. You draw a card at the beginning of your next turn's upkeep. I like that card because it's like, hey, no, you can't do this, but how about you draw some cards? Okay. We'll play fair here. Bespoke Battle Wagon. Whoa. It costs 3 generic and an island. It's an artifact vehicle. You can tap, you'll get 2 energy. You can tap and pay 2 energy and tap target creature. You can tap and pay 3 energy to draw a card. You can pay 4 energy and this vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Otherwise it has crew 4 and it's a 5/6. Okay, that's a fair trade-off to only have to pay 4 energy to crew that. Yeah. We have Era of Innovation. It costs 1 generic and an island. It's an enchantment. Whenever an artifact or artificer you control enters, you may pay 1 generic. If you do, you get 2 energy. Pay 6 energy, sacrifice this enchantment, and draw 3 cards. Okay, just a lot of things you can do there. Glimmer of Genius. It's an instant. It costs 3 generic and an island. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards, and then you get 2 energy. That's pretty good. A little, costly in terms of mana cost, but you get to do 2, 2, and 2. I like that. Whirler Rogue. It costs 2 generic and 2 islands. It's a creature, human rogue artificer. When this creature enters, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. You can tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, and then target creature can't be blocked this turn. And it's a 2/2. I like how I said earlier that oh yeah, we pretty much just got the lands left. No, we're almost there, but I have a lot more cards to go through yet. These videos take a while, huh? But it's okay. I do enjoy reading these cards with you. It's super fun and interesting and a really great way to get to know and understand the deck that you're playing with. So I highly recommend it, to be honest. Alright, let's continue. Loyal Apprentice. It costs 1 generic and a mountain. It's a creature, human artificer. It has haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn. It's a 2/1. We have Reckless Fireweaver. It costs 1 generic and a mountain. It's a creature, human artificer. Whenever an artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, and it's a 1/3. Attune with Aether. It costs a forest, it's a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You get 2 energy. For 1, to get a mana and 2 energy? Okay. Alright, I see. Explosive Vegetation. It costs 3 generic and a forest. It's a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay, not too bad. Pima Aether Seer. It costs 3 generic and a forest. It's a creature elf druid. When this creature enters, you get an amount of energy equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You can pay 3 energy, and target creature blocks this turn if able. And it's a 3/2. Servant of the Conduit. It costs 1 generic and a forest. It's a creature elf druid. When this creature enters, you get 2 energy. You can tap and pay an energy and add 1 mana of any color. And it's a 2/2. Rogue Refiner. Costs 1 generic, a forest, and an island. It's a creature human rogue. When this creature enters, draw a card and you get 2 energy. And it's a 3/2. And that's also, I feel like, a pretty good card. Alright, we have Sahili Sublime Artificer. It costs 1 generic and then either 2 islands or 2 mountains, or some mixture of the 2. Legendary Planeswalker, Sahili. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. When you subtract 2, target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And you start with 5. There's no way to add more, so that does not sound fun. We have Whirler Virtuoso. And costs 1 generic, an island, and a mountain. It's a creature, Vidalcan Artificer. When this creature enters, you get 3 energy. You can pay 3 energy, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and this creature is a 2/3. We have a Commander Sphere. I kind of wish this one had some different art, but here we are. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Costs 3 generic, if I did not mention that already. Decocation Module. Costs 2 generic, it's an artifact. Whenever a creature you control enters, you get an energy. Fair enough. Costs 4 generic to tap and then return target creature you control to its owner's hand. Ornithopter of Paradise. It costs 2 generic. It's an artifact creature, Thopter, flying, add 1 mana of any color, and it's a 0/2. Solar Transformer. It costs 2 generic. It's an artifact. This artifact enters tapped. When this artifact enters, you get 3 energy. You can tap to add a colorless mana, or you can tap to pay 1 energy and add 1 mana of any color. Okay. Soul Guide Lantern. It costs 1 generic. It's an artifact. When this artifact enters, exile target card from a graveyard. You can tap to sacrifice this artifact. Exile each opponent's graveyard. Oh, okay. You can pay 1 to tap and sacrifice this artifact and draw a card. Okay. We have a Talisman of Curiosity. Costs 2 generic. It's an artifact. You can tap to add a colorless or tap to add a forest or an island, and the artifact deals 1 damage to you. Aether Hub Land. When this land enters, you get 1 energy. You can tap to add a colorless or tap to pay 1 energy and add 1 mana of any color. Alright, I appreciate those cards made for this deck. Evolving Wilds. You can sacrifice this land, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Frontier Bivouac. It's a land. This land enters tapped. You can tap to add a forest, an island, or a mountain. We have a Path of Ancestry. This land enters tapped. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. We have Slagwood's Bridge. It's an artifact land. This land enters tapped. It's indestructible, and you can tap to add a mountain or a forest. We have Tanglepool Bridge. This land enters tapped. It's an artifact land and it's also indestructible. And you can tap to add a forest or an island. Oh, yay, okay. We've officially made it to the islands. I'd say there's a fairly even spread, perhaps more forest, mountains, and then islands, but let's leave these up and chit chat and then we'll say goodnight. So yeah, thank you for tuning in to watch this video with me tonight. I really enjoy creating these and being able to get familiar with my magic cards, but share my passion with it with you. So feel free to leave a comment down below if you see a card that sparks something in your memory or you just want to chat. I'm still considered more or less a newbie when it comes to magic, but I enjoy learning more as I continue to play. I will have one more Aetherdrift video coming out soon. It's going to be the other commander deck, so we'll be sleeving that one, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, let me know if you ended up getting any of the items from this set release. Let me know in the comments below. what are some of your favorite cards? My husband really wanted to get a Mox Opal, and we haven't. I still have to open the other Commander box, but I highly doubt it'll be in that collector booster. But yeah, so let me know if there were any cards that you were hoping to get and didn't get, or did get. I won't be jealous, it's okay. It's the way that Magic the Gathering works. Alright. And I should say too, if you enjoyed this video, I have a full playlist of my Magic the Gathering videos. So I do some more reading through decks that my husband and I have built. Let's be real, my husband's built most of them, but I play the decks. And I have other bundle openings, things like that. And I'm always adding more videos to that playlist, so I'll have that linked down below in case you just want some more Magic the Gathering ASMR content to help you relax. I've got a whole playlist for you. Okay. And that is the last forest. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content. I hope to see you again in the future. Have a wonderful night.